place to start would be to ask, what changes and trends have you noticed within the customer experience this year?
Shall I take that first, Amy?
Go on, Lizzie. We'll bounce off each other.
Let's do it, most definitely. So there's been some tremendous change, most definitely, over the last 12 to 18 months, both, I would say, from a consumer personal perspective, but also from a business perspective. I guess never has the importance of personalized, timely, relevant experience for us end users as consumers as there is today in terms of our expectations from our experience of working with organizations. Even speaking anecdotally, I guess it sounds really trivial, but my son has asked for a fish for his birthday in 10 days. So we, at the weekend, as you do, go off to do some fish research, which consequently is not what it used to be. Buy a small goldfish bowl and buy a couple of goldfish and off you go. It seems it's far more technical now. But anyway, so we went on our quest to find fish or discover what we need to do to keep fish. And unfortunately, the sort of lady that served us she was so passionate, she was so knowledgeable, she was intrigued, she was genuinely interested in helping and sharing her expertise. And we walked away and my husband said, wow, that was real customer experience, that was customer service. And I think whilst biased to some degree, it's definitely what we expect as consumers. We expect that knowledgeable, professional, experience. And I guess from a business perspective, again, like I said, I'm fortunate enough to see it from an individual and a consumer perspective, but also from a business, given we work with, so many organizations. And I would say one of the biggest changes I've seen is finally customer experience strategies have a voice and a place at the table in the exec board meetings and, the conversations that we're having internally. For once, it's a key priority. It's one that's being discussed continuously. How can we make it better? And I would say now we're finding, 8 out of 10 businesses are bringing this to the table and really taking it seriously, which is incredible.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, to be honest, Lizzie. I think it's fair to say every year customers' expectations increase, and it's said to be true for this year too. Customers have more power and choice than ever before. So, with more and more people working hybrid as well and thinking about hybrid ways of working from home, it's not just organisations, but their customers too. That are in this hybrid situation. So this has put technology and communication at the forefront for customer experience, which kind of really alludes to your point of it being the number one and being on the table. It's, that's really critical. We need to look at technology, communication. I was just thinking about it when I was preparing for today's session, and one of the things at accessplanit we have embraced, we've embraced the hybrid approach, and we've created a communication structure within teams. Good to see that up there on the report in the previous session. But we use that every day to keep our departments connected, and that's really crucial in delivering your customer experience strategy. You need those departments connected. Communication is at the forefront on delivering good customer experience and putting the customers at the heart of everything that you do. So I don't know about you, Lizzie, but from a personal level, I loved your fish story, by the way. I went through a phase over the last year. I think I've been having email and chat fatigue, but I just wanted to talk to people. So as a consumer myself, thinking about how I've been dealing with other companies, I've just wanted to get on the phone, which is similar to people wanting to get back into the classroom from a training industry point of view. But as a customer, I'm tired of talking to people across chats or bots, or I just want to get on the phone and talk to people.
Agree. We need that human interaction again. It's been so challenging, especially for those that, are more isolated and aren't fortunate enough to have 2 children running wild at home. Perhaps they enjoy the peace. But yeah, I think there's absolutely more of a need for just pick up the phone and help me out, talk to me is definitely up there. And I was unsurprised, actually, going back to your last session, the measurement of business success, 75% is customer satisfaction. Again, that's what I mean with it's being brought to the table, and it's just incredible to see. I was really unsurprised to those numbers.
Yeah, Definitely.
And something that you've both mentioned there in terms of customer experience needing to be at the forefront of strategy and being on those discussions at board level. How important is it to have a documented, official customer experience strategy?
I take that, Amy?
Yeah, go on.
So important. It's incredibly important to have that strategy, but actually more important is the execution of that strategy. And how the sort of the value and the culture of that customer experience is incorporated into your organization's DNA. Long gone are the days where it was the customer experience or the customer service team's responsibility for customer experience. It's a team effort. It's a cross-functional effort. Everybody has to be accountable for the customer experience. Every person in that organization must be accountable and hold responsibility for their customer experience. And even more than that, it's making sure the strategy, so really having a strategy, not just saying you've got a strategy, but having one and making it accountable and measurable. And something we do at SugarCRM, which is really helping our organizations and our customers, is offering a customer experience assessment. So being able to fill out a short questionnaire, which for those of you who are perhaps not familiar with Sugar, it's a questionnaire we have available online to Sugar users, Sugar customers or not. But it's really worth downloading and completing, because it gives you the opportunity to understand where you are today in your customer experience journey. And sometimes it's not necessarily where you want to be in your aspirational goals for delivery of customer experience, but it's hard facts in terms of where you are today. And that helps us to track and build a plan to get to where we want to be in terms of our aspirational delivery. So that's something I urge, customers daily, especially the ones I'm working with. Take the assessment, identify where we are today in that strategy, and let's work together to move towards our goal of high definition, we call it, Sugar customer experience.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Lizzie, to be honest. My answer is yes, having a documented customer experience strategy is very important. You need to have a clear vision of what it is you want to achieve, that your whole organisation relates to, but is also bought into. So to your point, the execution is key. Your customer experience strategy and the principles within it is what will drive the behaviours within your organisation that ultimately lead to that execution that you were talking about. So in accessplanit, we have recently reviewed our customer experience strategy, which we call our proven process, following our customer feedback that we received through NPS. So we believe that strategy should be measured, reviewed, enhanced and adapted regularly in order to keep up and maintain that standard. With customer experience trends changing all the time, you can't just have a strategy and stand still. You need to move with that strategy too. And I think that's as equally important as the execution.
Definitely, it's not one and done, is it? It's continuous, and again, that's why it's so exciting seeing now that, like I said, the customer experience is being brought to the table. In terms of exec meetings and board meetings, it's absolutely imperative.
Absolutely, it's the customer's feedback that helps you build that strategy. Actually, you haven't got one without your customers' feedback. So yeah.
And it takes time. This is something else that I'm sharing with customers. It takes time, and because it's been, I guess, over the last 12 months, it's been so there. It's been so important. It's not just we've decided to do customer experience, it's going to be perfect overnight. That's so not true, and that's why it's so important to identify where you are. It takes time, and it's really hearing customers. And sometimes, like I said, it can be ugly, but actually it's great that your customers are still feeding back, because that's how you get better. In my opinion, that's how we get better.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Excellent. And we're going to have to ask a poll question to all the participants today as well, which is, what is the number one thing that customers believe drives exceptional customer service? We've talked there about prioritising and making sure that you understand as an organisation what's the number one priority. But a question for both yourselves, Amy and Lizzie, is what do you believe is the number one thing that customers believe drives exceptional customer service? We'll see the results of this poll as they start to come through.
Perfect. So I think definitely, as I've mentioned, in the first question, the personalised, knowledgeable, relevant, timely. experience is key. It's such a key component. But again, more than that, how do organizations ensure that experience? How do they make sure that those key components are achievable by the organization, that that their staff can help organizations with that feedback? And from our perspective, it's technology and strategy, most definitely. It's digital transformation, and being able to consider, it's your people, it's your processes, it's your technology. All of those things combined is what helps organizations deliver that personalized, relevant, knowledgeable experience. It's just so important to have the full 360-degree view of your customers, from the onboarding to the continuous service to the customer support. It's being able to cross-functionally know your customer and know everything about your customer. And to some degree, something that we pride ourselves on, it's being able to identify customer needs perhaps before they even know the need themselves. And that's only made possible when you've got the digital transformation, you've got your processes, your people, and your technology supporting that. Even thinking back to pre-pandemic, I was working with an organization in the travel and tourism industry, and they were using their Excel for their CRM. So as you can imagine, it was an absolute headache when the pandemic hit, and they needed to know their customers, be able to, modify bookings, cancel bookings. It was so challenging for them. But thankfully, they had actually moved over to the SugarCRM just pre the pandemic, so we could work really closely with them to make sure their sales, servicing, team, marketing were all working together to make sure they've got that full 360-degree view, which ultimately helped them to offer that personalized, knowledgeable, timely, relevant experience.
Yeah. For me, it's not one single key component, but many, and it's a case of doing them all well. I think that's the recipe, really. Matt, have you got any results come through? It'd be interesting before I go into my bits.
Yeah, so I think with the number one answer has been delivering on promises, which is, again, like you said, Aimee, a mixture of different components that lead to a good customer experience. So delivering on promises, a personalised service, and being knowledgeable and passionate. So going back to Lizzie's fish story, that passion can come through quite strongly within customer experience. So yeah, those are the top three we've had come through on the poll.
Yeah,
doesn't surprise me, actually, Aimee, does it you?
No, it doesn't surprise me on delivering on your promises. I think, for me, it's about doing them all well. They're all key, and it's about doing them all well. For me, you need to have a really clear vision and standard that you are committed to delivering all of the time. A lot of what we've covered today, so already in just the last couple of questions, you've got to have a good idea of what good looks like in order to deliver what good is, even great and exceptional. Knowing your customers, taking the time. So I totally agree with you, Lizzie. A CRM is the way to get that insight, to get that information outside of talking to your customers, and keeping that information in one central place for all departments that link together. Customers, whether you're talking to somebody for the first time or the 10th, the 11th, it's about personalizing that service. So it's really key, again, keeping information, knowing your customers, and holding on to that. Taking accountability for your mistakes, not just acknowledging them, but fixing them. Customers want to feel confident that you can help them solve their problems and as quickly as possible. People don't want to spend time where they don't need to. Creating ways for customers to self-serve. I know our customers want to do things themselves on the platform if they can. They don't want to be in a queue where they don't need to. So it's about investing in your support tools, in the support tools that you provide your customers. So yeah, I think there's loads. We could go on all day.
We could.
On what the key components are.
Yeah, it's definitely one of my favorite topics, and being heard is another one I think makes a huge difference. Actually hearing customers, not just thinking you've heard them, really hearing them and asking the why. For me, it's always, wonderful, you're a sugar user, we love that, but so what? Why? What are you trying to achieve? And for me, a few customers, when I rejoined Sugar 12 months ago, were sort of, oh, what do you mean why? But it was so important for me to know, why are you a Sugar customer? What are you trying to achieve? There's something more than just your CRM, and it's obviously that customer experience.
Absolutely. And we're just going to fire up another poll question to ask all the participants, but we're also, again, we'll ask you yourselves, Aimee and Lizzie, what challenges have you experienced within customer experience this year? It's been a very tumultuous year, very turbulent year. What kind of challenges have you experienced and had to overcome within the last 12 months?
I would say, probably speaking from experience and from working, with many customers, it's the lack of resources. So, resources is a huge challenge right now, especially with recruitment in the position it's in. And, a recent study identified that 33% of UK organisations have reported workforce shortages being an ongoing issue. And that isn't going away, it isn't going away overnight. And I think going back to some of my earlier points, having the right technology, the right strategy, again, it's the people, process, technology piece, having that in place, along with a real cultural feel of actually customer experience is key. It's at the heart of everything we do. I think that to some degree overcomes the resource challenge, because breaking down your silos within an organization is key. Validity and integrity of data, which is stored, within the CRM, those combined with, like I said, the right technology, the right people, the right processes will release some of the burden off the lack of resources. It's really relying on your digital transformation and making sure you've got that perfect to help support the challenges, which, like I said, will be going for some time in terms of resources and people.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So I'm not some of what I wrote down is exactly that, to be honest, Lizzie. But from a customer's point of view and putting myself in the customer's shoes, I think one thing that we've definitely learned over the past few years is that time is precious, and our eyes have been open to what is really important in our day-to-day lives. I think making sure that the time you do spend with your customer is on the right things. Going back to knowing your customer and what their priorities are. Maximize the time that you are spending with them, specifically in times of resource challenge.
100%. That everyone's time is so important. Let's use it in the right ways. Let's be respectful and use it in the right ways. And again, it's knowing your customer sometimes, before they know what they need themselves, and being able to make those recommendations.
Definitely.
Absolutely. I was just checking the poll results there, and absolutely in line with what you both just said there. 54%, just over 54% of respondents there have said resource is the biggest challenge they've experienced within customer experience this year, alongside following that with behavioural and organisational changes to be expected. So yeah, absolutely resource. And I think within the news recently, the skill shortage apparently that's happening, again, all coincides with what you both just said there, that resource is one of the biggest challenges to deliver a successful customer experience strategy.
Anyone would think we live and breathe customer experience, Aimee. Heart of my blood.
Excellent. Well, thank you both very much for your time today. Really appreciate it. Thank you for sharing your insight into what makes up and what delivers an exceptional customer experience strategy in 2021.